traditional Chinese medicine, one organ. So now, to get into the diagnosis, the first thing to do is to get into the diagnosis. I mean, how can we diagnose the condition of our stomach, and how can we diagnose the condition of our spleen, and how can we diagnose the condition of our pancreas? Now, using facial diagnosis. Because the beauty of facial diagnosis is that your body will show its internal condition in the face long before any serious problems arise. So you can then keep checking, learn the facial diagnosis, and it's on my website. What I'm reading here is from my website, the alchemical pages, but Muramoto's Healing Ourselves got a lot of stuff on that. Plus Michio Kushi's Your Face Never Lies, which is a great book. And he also wrote another book called How to See Your Health, the Book of Oriental Diagnosis. And those are the ones I recommend. And then study. Because, I mean, you got to learn this stuff yourself. You can read all the books you want, but the way you study facial diagnosis is that you're in the cafe, or on the bus, or you're watching TV, or you're reading a magazine. And that particular week you say, okay, all I'm going to look at this week is everybody's nose. That's what I'm going to do. Just their nose. Everybody I see, check out their nose. And you see it. See what's going on. And then you read the facial diagnosis and you say, well, okay, what does the nose tell us, etc., etc. So now in the case of the stomach, this is the area. Upper lip shows the condition of the stomach. So you look for blemishes here, or swelling, or tightening. Sometimes the lip is really thin, and this is because ideally, when the digestive system is working properly, the upper and the lower lip must be even in terms of their vertical dimension. Normally, when I say normal, then shall we say conventionally, most people's lower lip is swollen relative to the upper lip. That means large intestine. So you look for stomach condition here. Now, in terms of the anatomy, you know, we have the mouth, which, as it says, is a reflection of the stomach. And when we chew our food, now, well, I'll get into that a little bit. You swallow the food, it goes down the esophagus, which is a tube that goes from the mouth to the stomach. The stomach is here. It's like this kind of a shape, like a L shape or J shaped sac here. And then there's what's called a duodenum, which curves around to here and joins the small intestine. Now, you can diagnose the condition of the duodenum in the corners of the mouth, because the duodenum joins the stomach to the lower digestive tract. And the lower digestive tract is seen here, with the outer part of the lip showing the condition of the large intestine, and in here showing the condition of the small intestine. So the corners of the mouth tell you the condition of the duodenum, with this corner of the mouth showing the lower duodenum, and this corner of the mouth showing the upper duodenum, because it goes like this, across this way. So if you have, a lot of people get this, sores right here in the corner of the mouth, sores and blemishes, but usually, you know, what they call
cold sores.
Cold sores, right? And it's tight, and it's painful. So that means there's inflammation and stuff going on. In this case, from too much yin, and in this case, from too much yang. So you have to look at that. Now, the other part of the nose, the face that shows the condition of the mouth is here. Right on this, the bridge of the nose. So any kind of discoloration, markings, blemishes, pimples, the KI. And he said cooking brown rice, the art of cooking brown rice is the highest art of cooking there is, period. To know how to cook brown rice properly. And it's true, there's no question.
One of the counselors is now recommending to use lemon juice when you're soaking your rice to get rid of that phytic acid that's in the...
Listen, I'll tell you what. I got this to say about all that scientific stuff. It is total gobbledygook. I mean total. The thing is that you want, the phytic acid is just not a problem. I don't know where the hell people come up with this stuff. You know,
Science.
and I tell you, what I've really noticed over the last 15 years of reading scientific literature, because I try to keep up with what the hell these people are saying, you know, that the quality of writing and the quality of research has gone down the tubes. I mean, big time. I mean, I'm reading this stuff in here, you know, when I'm doing my research a couple of days ago and yesterday. I said, these people are really, I mean, they just don't have it.
Well, the thought behind soaking the grains or that using the lemon juice is that the phytic acid is the grain's natural defense. So if an animal were to eat the grain, it would be less digestible. So the idea of us soaking the grains and then using something like salt or lemon juice or something like that is to break down that even more so that the grains are more susceptible and easier to digest. So the soaking process in theory is to stop the natural defense that the plant has of being digestible. So
Right.
people won't want to eat it because it's
But
not, you know, you eat the grain and you're like, or you eat brown rice and you're like, it didn't sit too well, I'm not going to eat that again.
But when you soak the grain, usually, and I don't throw the soaking water away. You know, I think it's important not to
Right.
throw it away.
Because I've never soaked grain, ever. My entire
I don't either.
37 years of eating macaroni, I've never soaked grain.
But you know, I have to cop to this too. I don't wash my grain either, which a lot of people get upset with me for. But I kind of feel I saw a magnification of a piece of a grain of rice, and it has all these little hairs on it, right? So if you're soaking your grains and throwing it in the strainer, you're getting rid of all that.
Right.
You're not getting any of that.
Yeah. I think that the main thing about cooking brown rice, as well as any other grain, is to make sure that you cook it properly with the rice. I mean, with the sea salt. And then if you're having problem with digestion, it is not the problem, it's not the grains, it's your digestive system. And it probably takes a minimum, in my experience, of working with, you know, thousands of people over the years, probably a minimum of 2 years to rehabilitate the intestine, especially the large intestine. It takes a long time for it to become rehabilitated. And if you don't do the ginger compresses, they never become rehabilitated, never. So, but we'll get into that not next time, the time after that.
I just wanted to add too, on the same subject of soaking grains. I went to a dinner one time and this woman lectured us about how she soaked the grain in whey and lemon juice for 48 hours before she cooked it. And but she didn't cook it correctly, so it was the same thing. You know, with eat the grain, I was like, I'm just chewing it too hard. So
yeah,
I don't know.
The key thing about cooking whole grains, if you do it right, you know they're done properly. When you look at the grains, before you even, after you cook them, before you even touch them, you look at them and you see this little kind of white thing poking through the skin.
Yeah.
Then you know it's done. That's how you know.
Do you recommend pressure cooking or
Yeah. Oh yeah. Pressure cooking is the most balanced way of cooking because it's the only method of cooking that has all the 5 elements of cooking, which is heat, time, water, salt, and what's the other one? Pressure. It's the only one that contains all 5. So it's the most balanced way of cooking.
So could you do too much of it? I mean, is it too young if you're always eating pressure cooked brown rice?
No.
No.
I've eaten nothing but pressure cooked brown rice my entire life, macrobiologically.
I'll tell you what I do.
The
though,
key thing is to make sure you have the right proportion of grains to vegetables, and one of the key
Right.
things that people do not eat is leafy greens. You know, when I was at the KI, we used to have pester them in the kitchen. If we weren't cooking ourselves, we need more leafy greens. Kilos of space available. So if that space gets used up, then the glycogen is stored in the rest of the body. So it's stored as fat deposits, basically. I mean, that's why you get fat, overweight, in the hips and the waist and the thighs and the neck and so forth. And it's a major cause of obesity. But if the body is functioning properly, then if the blood sugar level falls too low, then the pancreas sends a hormone to the liver to convert the glycogen back into sugar to raise the blood sugar level. So the idea is to keep a steady state, because we do need sugar. There's no way around it. But the best source of sugar is whole grains, because it's a complex carbohydrate, and when we cook it properly and we chew it properly, then it's gradually broken down to simple sugar in its intestines, and then it's assimilated as a simple sugar, but it's a steady state. So if the best description is Micho, that I've ever heard about this, is that he said that eating whole grains as your staple food, as your source of sugar, is like having a fire in the fireplace in a cold winter night. And you have the fire's died down, you just have the warm embers glowing. That's the kind of energy, steady, strong, that you have from eating whole grain sugar. Is that eating refined sugar is like taking some lighter fuel and sticking it in the thing. And so what happens when you start eating sugar, you start going like this. You start jumping around. And then you get tired. And then you get the blues. And then you get worn out. And then you get hypoglycemia because, you know, you're taking, you can't take it. So you stop eating the sugar and you get so you're just keeping fluctuating between hypoglycemic and hypoglycemic. So you just, this is, you know, not good. And it affects you mentally and it affects you emotionally. And of course, as this process goes on throughout the time of us eating our heavy-duty sugar intake, along with the animal protein and the spices and whatnot, then those cells in the pancreas, they start to become exhausted. And then they can no longer produce insulin. And that's why you need to start taking insulin. And I think what happens is as those cells become exhausted, they die and they become scar tissue. And so because I've counseled maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 people with diabetes, and what happened was, when they, you know, they were high insulin dependent, they were having to take insulin injections every 2 hours and whatnot, their blood sugar, they had to keep monitoring their blood sugar all the time. They start their macrobiotic practice and start eating well and doing their junior compresses, and pretty much within 3 or 4 months, everything would really settle down. They'd start to have much, much less insulin. They'd get to the point where they would get off the insulin. They keep monitoring their blood sugar just in case. And then kidneys is also